Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website jfa49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag.
What is up, faithful? What is up, everybody? Welcome into the JD49, the JFA podcast. Thank you to everybody who is boosting the chat. Adam will be joining here in a little bit. I kind of surprised him. We had our wires crossed a little bit on the start time. He said something Eastern time. I then converted that to Central time, and then I converted that back to Eastern time without changing it, and then converted it to Central time again. And so I got, you probably saw the time change, and then I was, can't change an hour later. So give me a mic check because Adam is not in here, and let me know that I'm coming through, and I'm coming through smoothly. I am on the hotel Wi-Fi here at the hotel in Mobile, Alabama. Good shout out to Marcos, Dre. We got Panda in the house. Kushman Zada is here. Dre is saying hotel internet sucks, so hopefully that doesn't mean that you guys can't see me at all, and that I'm not really coming through. Just so, again, check on that to know if I'm coming through all right or if it's just absolutely terrible, and then I'll have to try and switch over to a hotspot and see if it'll work. So my wife is saying that it's not working really well. Give me some more feedback here in the chat on how things seem on your end. Dre says you can hear me. My wife says it's going in and out a little bit. So just give me 1 second here. I don't have great reception where I'm at. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But you can hear me. As long as you can see me, that will be all that really matters. It's all that matters in the end, and what we can do. I might be able to change this down in definition, and it may be able to come through a little bit better. So I changed it to standard definition set at HD, and hopefully that will come through a little bit better than that. But we had a busy day here at the Senior Bowl. Was able to join up with some amazing content creators, and we were sitting together, and it was great because we were able to really get eyes on a bunch of things. So, you know, it's kind of like in football games, teams have a lot of different coaches, and everybody's eyes are in somewhere different, because when you're watching the game from the sidelines, there's a lot going on to watch: offensive line, defensive line, edge, interior, running backs, linebackers, safeties, receivers, quarterbacks, all that stuff. So we were able to kind of band our eyes together and get in different areas and really see everybody and see the field and help each other out and say, hey, you know, this guy did this on this play, and we could go back and really note things, and it was awesome. So it was myself, Wayne Breezy, he was in the house. Steph Sanchez was there, and the Brad Graham. We were all hanging out, having a great time, watching a lot of prospects. I will say this Senior Bowl is probably the most stacked defensive line for both teams that I've been to, and this is my third Senior Bowl. Last year was a strong defensive line class. You had guys like Braden Fisk and Devondre Sweat coming out, a bunch of other guys that looked like strong mid-round talents, and it was really strong in the offensive line. This year, the offensive line is okay, is just phenomenal. There are talented guys up and down the line on both the American team and the national team. There's a lot of really good options there. I think there's going to be some needle movers there early in the draft. The 49ers are going to have a very interesting challenge if you have the option to trade back 4 or 5 spots. I think there's going to be some really good defensive linemen that end up being that kind of late middle and late first round draft grade that are going to be available that can really help this defense out. And you could pick up some more bodies in a very loaded draft class. So, I'll get into some of the guys that really started flashing. First, the defensive tackle out of Oregon, not the one you're thinking of. There's one guy who's and we'll talk about him later because he's not here at the Senior Bowl, but the one guy that has really been showing out this year. But Jamari Caldwell, a defensive tackle from Oregon, is a big man. I don't have his height weight here, but he's very wide. And he's a people mover and moves very well for his size. If we're looking for somebody to plug up the interior and take on those double teams and really anchor and cause a lot of havoc, he's somebody who really flashed a bunch today in the one-on-ones and the team drills, was constantly disruptive in the backfield, was really just affecting everybody in one-on-ones in the pass rush situation. He didn't lose a rep. And was one thing that I was worried about when I saw him come out for warmups. I thought, man, that's a big guy. Is he going to be able to move? Foot quickness was there, and he was really giving some of the guards a hard time. Jamari Caldwell really impressed me today. A kid who flashed out of Toledo, Darius Alexander. He had some good reps in the one-on-ones, in the pass rush. Needed to anchor a little bit better against a run on the edge, but somebody that really kind of popped for me a little bit, where he was kind of playing some interior, some edge, and so it's going to be interesting to see how he starts shaping out as far as edge players. This was from the national team, so this was the first practice that we had was Jaw Joyner from Minnesota. He really just showed up. It was more in the defensive line drills, showed really good bend, really good quickness, violent hands, good leverage with the arms, and everything. And so his length was giving some guys some issues there. But the guy who I really, really liked and just popped for me on the edge was you're gonna have to excuse me on this name, Oluwafemi Aladejo from UCLA. He is lengthy, long arms, reminds you of Alden Smith as far as his length in the arms. And that length, he knows how to use it. It was really giving tackles a hard time in the pass rush drills, which was really exciting to see. And he's got some nice bend around the edge. So that length mixed with the bend, this was a kid that I started to get really excited about watching. I'm going to want to really kind of zero in on him over the next couple days of practice, because the measurables are there for what you like out of an elite edge guy. He's got the height, lengthy, athletic, everything you want to see from that. It's going to be interesting to see, what I'm going to go try and find some of his tape, and look at his tape and see if what the college tape matches up with what I'm seeing here at the Senior Bowl. Again, in the one-on-ones, and I have a bunch of clips. I'm not going to be able to post them all tonight and to go through them all. I have 140 clips to go through. So it's been a long day. I got in, and first thing I did was start downloading some tape of guys that I want to see more of. And there's some guys from the American team that are kind of higher on my list, and I'll get through those here in a sec. But Oladeo was just really impressive as far as from a measurables, and I hate the term eye test. You guys know I don't like that term, but as far as just passing that edge eye test, absolutely. Kid looks like a premier edge player. He's got that build, the length, everything you want to see, and was feisty. And again, just his length gave tackles so many fits in the one-on-ones, in the pass rush drills. So, because what they do is they'll line up 5 offensive linemen, and they go one by one, edge, defensive tackle, edge. And it was left side, right side against all the tackles that were there. He was being fits to, knew how to use that length, good long arm technique to get into that near shoulder and pin the arm, and then bend around the edge. So really exciting edge player I saw there. A couple linemen that did stand out in this group was one out of Oregon, Josh Connerly. He's an interior offensive lineman, played both guard positions today. Looked good. He looks the part. He's a kid that a lot of people are high on, and he absolutely does look the part, and has the feet, the tenacity, balance in the run game and the pass blocking game. He was really impressive in the pass blocking, because he was really good at mirroring the defensive linemen as they were coming at him. So even if he would lose initially, he could recover really quickly and then end up picking those guys back up. And he really didn't lose a pass rush rep. Even if he lost initially, he would still win in the end. He would either drive that guy out. Connerly is listed as a tackle, but he is actually playing guard here at the Senior Bowl. So I know some of these guys play tackle. What happens is a lot of times their agents may tell them, hey, your measurables of arm length and stuff is not going to fit you as a tackle. And so, but I promise you, he was playing guard today. That's what kind of surprised me a little bit, was that several people have been high on him, and then to see him here playing interior offensive line. He did not take one rep at tackle today. So I have some videos of that. So he did well today. At center from USC, Jonah Monheim, he did well. I don't think he's the strongest prospect that was there, but anyways, just seeing some of the chat, but Jonah Monheim, I thought, did well throughout most of the day. He didn't pop as far as a guy that won every rep or anything. He held up well most of the time, picked up the assignments and everything. I think the length on the arms is what is holding Connerly back, is that most teams like their tackles to have at least 34.5-inch arms. So again, that's most teams. Every team is going to have a little bit different of a benchmark of what their tackle is. Most of them, it's usually 34.5 inches is what they're looking for in arm length from a tackle. But Monheim, I thought, played well, had some good reps in the run blocking. But the kid who stood out the most to me today, and I came away really impressed with, was Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. What's interesting about him, small school guy. And North Dakota State, I know, there's been a lot of premier players have come out of North Dakota State over time, and some premier draft picks. But it's still a Division II school, and this was a really good chance for him, a kid like Gray Zabel, to come in and show that he can play with the big boys, that he can play and keep up with the D1 guys and seniors and guys who've been in college and played a lot of football. And Gray Zabel, to me, was the best offensive lineman on the field today. And it was interesting to me then kind of after practice, I was posting a couple clips and then seeing a number of people on X that were and posting on social media about Gray Zabel and how impressed they were with his day. So it wasn't just me who felt that. It was hard to watch today's practice without noticing him. He really stood out well, held up good balance, good footwork, powerful hips. Showed a lot of strong hands, violent hands, a lot of things you like to see from an offensive lineman. So I think he's a kid who, we're going to see going forward over the next couple of days, how, as these guys get a couple days of film on him in these practices, and they're going to then start trying to use anything they see in those film sessions against him, what things go over the next couple of days. But somebody to definitely, I'm going to be keeping an eye out. Gray Zabel did a really good job. And what was fascinating too is we Steph, she's always there with her binoculars, and that girl is eagle eye. She can spot 49ers personnel from 70 yards away. And so thankfully I have a Samsung phone, so it zooms in really, really well. Most of the pictures anybody saw me posting of John Lynch today, that was from about 60 yards away. But we were able to spot John Lynch, who was there, and get some pictures. We were on John Lynch watch, following him, and he was very, very interested in the line drills and the line play. I don't remember him actually ever going and watching the receivers and defensive backs. It was pretty much focused on the line and the line play and in both sessions. So that was some there. And I guess just as a note, we did watch some of the other guys a little bit, but obviously with the 49ers needs this year, line play was where we were mostly focused on. But Tez Johnson out of Oregon, so it's also Tex Johnson. He's a small dude. We had to double check his height and weight. He's 5'9", 156, but he looked small out there, but kid is lightning fast, lightning quick, which I guess if you're going to be 156 and try and play in the NFL, you got to be quick. Good route runner though. Polished as a route runner, and if the quarterbacks have been a little bit more accurate, he would have had some really big highlight plays today. Tight end who looked really good was I think it was Arroyo or Ferguson, or it was Arroyo out of Miami. Had a couple really good reps there, and looked really smooth as a route runner. And so somebody again look forward to. Now there was an interesting kid at receiver, just as interesting because the 49ers have been doing this like hybrid positionless thing with guys, and Debo being this kind of wide back, and they were bringing Cam Latu, who was going to kind of be this really big slot, and that didn't really work out. Juwan Jennings is a really big slot player and almost box like a tight end a lot of times, and they use him like that. But there was a kid here, Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. That is a big dude. When he lined up, you would have thought he was a tight end. He probably had 4 inches on the corner that he was lined up against, and at least 40 pounds. And so that's a guy, just something that I wonder about because of the size measurables and the way the 49ers could potentially use him as a really big blocking slot. I'm going to keep an eye on him a little bit when I can. When I can spare an eye and get away from the line a little bit, I'm going to be looking for him. I kind of name that I'd be thinking, if he's there, a late round kid. Dre wants to know if there's any food at the Senior Bowl practice. There is. They do have one concession stand open. So, we're there for 4.5 hours. A little bit longer than that. I got to the Senior Bowl today at 9 o'clock this morning. I got to the stadium. The practice started at 9:30 and got in line. And right in front of me, about 5 people in front of me was Wayne, and about 5 people in front of him was Steph. And so, but there was a line of about 100 people waiting to get their credentials checked in and get out into the stadium to start watching some players. And so it was they do have a little bit of food there. We're there for a long time. They take care of us pretty well at the Senior Bowl. So they make sure they have the concessions open. Plus there's a lot of people there, media there covering this event. Ran into Brian Baldinger. Baldy was there. I couldn't take a picture with him because my phone was at like 1% by that point, because I was taking all the videos. It was at the very end of the second practice after we went down on the field. And I went with Brad, and he interviewed a kid from the American team. I'll get into him in a minute. But it was just a good day. It was, as you can see, I got a little bit of sun. Was not expecting that as much. It was a sunny day here in Mobile, and we got roasted a little bit. I'm now, as you can see, back in my hotel room, but good. It's looking like a really strong class, especially again on the defensive line and the edge players. It's a lot better. Sorry, I'm a little tired too. Because I left my house about 4 a.m, so I'm gonna get a little hit of sugar here. And so we're gonna move on here. The American roster, Adam said he's trying to get in as quickly as he can. He's texting me. He said everybody's running a little late. But then we had a break, and then the American roster came out. And I will tell you, there was a couple kids who came out on the American roster that made you stop and really kind of, because everybody looks big. Everybody looks big there. These are, future NFL players. And then you have somebody like these two kids come out and they make everybody look small. First one was somebody I knew about going in, and I was really interested in, wanted to check him out there. That is Deion Walker from Kentucky, a defensive tackle. He's 6'7", 340 pounds is what he weighed in at his measurables here at the Senior Bowl. They did the weigh-ins and everything yesterday, and all the measurements, and so that's what he measured at here just 24 hours ago. Deion Walker out of Kentucky, 6'7", 340 pounds. And so the question is, okay, a guy that big, how well can he move? Moved surprisingly well for a 6'7", 340-pound guy. And then you saw him walking around, and there was another guy who looked nearly the same size. And I had to double take him. I went, wait a minute, who is this kid? Cameron Jackson from Florida. Right now, he's not projected as a real high pick. Some of the things I looked into as I was sitting there, because I had to look this kid up, that he's projected as like a 5th or 6th round pick right now. It's in some things. I think his stock will start to rise. He is 6'6", 342 pounds. So we were sitting there going, these guys look almost identical size, and they are nearly identical size. Moved really well. Really well. He actually impressed me today more than Deion Walker. His movement was sharp. He had a couple really good, nasty wins in the one-on-ones. In the team drills is where he really impressed me. He was the front side on several runs, was able to swallow up the double teams and hold down the point of attack, something the 49ers have not been able to do. Really reminds you as far as that body size, that massive tall body size of an Eric Armstead. He's not as athletic, but he still does move pretty well. And if we're looking for somebody to plug up the middle, which is what they've needed from their interior defensive line, this is a kid who starts to get me really excited, because he was showing the ability to do that at the point of attack multiple times in the team period. That doesn't show up, when they do the pass rush drills and everything, but he has the power. He knows how to use that power. He knows how to play as a big man. Now, Deion Walker was also impressive today, but Cameron Jackson, to me, of those two, flashed more. And they're both just really good. The American team defensive line is absolutely stacked. I mean, that team has a lot of talent on it. A lot of people really high on Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. He was strong today. For me, he didn't pop as much as some of the other guys, and that's not necessarily a knock. It's just a lot of people really high on him. But Walter Nolan did well today, but Cameron Jackson, just a big body dude, was really showing out today. Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee, he had a number of good reps. He was having a really good battle today with an offensive lineman I'll talk about here in a few minutes. But Omar did well. He was there. I mean, just they had guys up and down the line that were flashing. Even Tim Smith out of Alabama, was not necessarily considered a really high prospect. I had watched some of his film coming down. Obviously out of Alabama, was interested. He's not going to be one of those really flashy difference makers. Was looking like not super explosive. He was a kid who I was expecting to just be a dude. Just be a guy there, but not like a dude. And he still flashed on a couple reps, and so was disruptive in the backfield and showed out. So that's a kid I'm looking at, that kind of like that maybe DJ Jones sleeper 5th, 6th guy who has some good upside potential there. As a Tim Smith, there was a really interesting prospect. I think he's a tweener, and it was interesting to see where he was playing today because he was a defensive tackle at Georgia for the most part, and now here he was actually playing end. So that is Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, a kid from Georgia. He's about 280, and so he's on that smaller defensive tackle, bigger defensive end. What was really impressive, he really started to show out in the drills. So some of the drills they're doing, they want to work on arm leverage and everything. And some of the guys, they're doing kind of striking techniques. And some of the guys you're watching and they don't have that natural power. And so you see a lot of hip movement. And they're really trying to generate upwards power out of their hips. He wasn't doing any of that. It was just straight arm power. That he's got a really solid base. And the way I put it was he was the most polished defensive lineman on the field. As far as technique of everything, hand fighting was really good. Hand placement was really good. Polished in all of his moves well, has good bend, is really powerful. What he's going to project as is a very disruptive, maybe undersized defensive tackle that wins with quickness and violence, or a little bit big of an end. And so he's in that tweener category, but somebody to keep an eye on. I tried to go get an interview with him, but he was actually surrounded by TV cameras. So I couldn't actually go get an interview with him. But somebody who throughout the day, again, everything was very polished. In team periods, he was polished and anchored well, knew how to use leverage and pad level to hold and contain the edge in the run. He had a good enough arsenal of pass rush moves and was in the backfield several times. So was disruptive there. So there are a number of players that played really well today and flashed. And I think a number of these guys are going to be somewhere in that 1 to 3 round range. And so, one thing I was talking about with Brad today, we said, it's almost sometimes you get this perception that if the 49ers aren't picking a guy in the first round or at the beginning of the second round, that the talent isn't there, that now you're not getting a premium pick. One thing being at the Senior Bowl the last several years has really shown me is those first 100 picks are all premium picks. There's a lot of really talented kids that come out every year. And so just because a guy isn't going to be in the second round and he's maybe an early third round does not mean that's a bad player. That they still have, they may not be that premier player, but they can still be a very solid contributor on your team and a very important role player for something. And that's one thing that we saw this year is we didn't have the depth of the defensive line and being able to have guys who could hold up against the run up and down the depth chart. And so that's what I'm seeing here is this is a very loaded class to get a lot of youth throughout the depth rotation, not just, a difference maker in the middle. They're going to have the opportunity for that. I think they're going to end up going defensive tackle first round. That's what I think. I think there's players that are going to be there in that they can do in either the second or fourth rounds in the offensive line that will be solid players. That there's going to be some good players here. So, the defensive line just really, really showed out. So when we're looking at some edge, there's some players like Shamar James out of Florida. He was playing, or sorry, Shemar Stewart. There's two Shemars here. Shemar Stewart out of Texas A&M as an end was really disruptive. Like much like the kid out of USC, he's got a lot of length. He has the prototypical edge presence. Really disruptive. Had a couple really good reps. Absolutely bull rushed over one of the tackles in his reps today. Put the kid straight on his back and was just really disruptive. Had several would-be sacks in the team period. They don't, obviously they don't let him hit and sack quarterbacks here, but I counted at least 2 would-be sacks in the team period. So really was popping in the team periods there as a really good edge prospect. It was I think it was Oben out of Notre Dame was another one that was looking pretty good today. I was mostly during the team period focused on the interior defensive line, but those two kids kind of stood out. And Jared Ivey out of Ole Miss, who was number 15 out there, he was doing. He was very disruptive as well. The American team really struggled running the ball in the team periods, and that was because that defensive line was really tough. They would have had a bunch of sacks. I think it was at least 5 or 6 sacks that they would have given up in the team drills if they counted sacks. So that was something. A kid that on the defense that also flashed for me that I'm going to be keeping an eye on again when I can spare it. That is just intriguing. Is a safety out of Georgia, and his name's Dan Jackson. I like Georgia safeties. I like Georgia defensive players mainly because Kirby Smart coming out with Saban. The defense that Georgia plays is very much an NFL defense. A lot of NFL teams use Saban and Kirby Smart concepts and defensive plays or in defensive rules for how they account for things at the NFL level. So when guys come out of Georgia and Alabama, at least, Alabama when Saban was here, they tend to be very pro-ready to play defense. And Dan Jackson, what I liked, smooth hips, good acceleration to the point of attack, and decent range. I'm gonna keep watching that over the week and see what happens. See how he flashes, but I liked him in the drills. There's a lot of things to like there. After I get off here, I'm probably gonna be putting on the tape and trying to see what he did there at Georgia in the games and see if the games start matching up with what we saw today. As far as offensive line from the American team, it was a mixed bag of what we saw out there. But the kid who to me really stood out, Jackson Slater from Sacramento State, another small school kid. At Sac State, he played every position on the line. Now, he's going to be interior offensive line here in the NFL. He's not going to be a tackle. He played a lot of tackle at Sac State, but here he's definitely playing interior offensive line. He's getting reps at mainly right guard, is getting some reps at left guard, and getting reps at center. He didn't play a lot of center today in the team drills, but got a lot of reps, and they were practicing with all 4 quarterbacks, just snap drills. So they're going through taking snaps, and all the quarterbacks taking snaps from all the centers that will be playing. And Jackson Slater was one of those guys. And so a kid that's really exciting to look forward to. I meant to add it on here earlier, and I totally forgot until this second. But Brad and we went down and interviewed him. It was more Brad than me, so I'm not really going to take a whole lot of credit for that. And I'm going to see if I can load this here into Restream to get this on here so that you guys can. It's telling me that it's too large of a file size to do this, so that this interview may have to wait until tomorrow. I'm going to have to then try and get it to you in some other way so that you can actually hear it and see it. But and if you want to see the interview, you can also go to Brad Graham's the SF Niners X account or any of his social medias, and I'm sure he's going to post it there if he hasn't already. But he interviewed him, and a good kid. I think he's got a solid head on his shoulders. But I got some clips here that we're going to go through of Mr. Jackson Slater, and I just got to pull it up here in a second. It's been a long day, y'all, so I got to make sure I have it in the right location. There it is. Okay. So we're going to get this pulled up here so you guys can see this, because you deserve some film. That's what we do here. So this is, we try to get high up to really see it real quick here. You can see that is John Lynch right there with a close eye on the lineman. They're looking right down the line. He's really in. But this is Jackson Slater. He's playing left guard here. He loses initially, but you know what? He recovers himself. And that's what you like. He lost initially, but recovered. Now here he is going to be. He's running right guard. This during the team drills, and this is a great example of, again, anchor in the pass pro. So love the pad level. Love how he's going to get in here, anchor, squat down, and hold up against a bull rush. So love this. He understands where it is, gets his hands on the guy, gets into him, gets his cleats in the ground, and holds up and doesn't give up ground. And so you can see that was Omar at Tennessee that he was going up against. So just to give you a perspective of who he was going against, that is Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee. We're going to run it again. Great protection. And so you can see that's a good example there of Savion Jones out of LSU, the edge where, it might be a sack over here. We saw a lot of this. These tackles were not the most impressive. He gets good bend off the edge. So here he is again. He's playing right guard. And, obviously the 49ers draft him. That he's probably not going to be playing guard. Here they're running a wide zone. And so this was a really, really fun play to see. So again, he's the left guard in a wide zone. So this tackle's got to come over and scoop block who he's over. He's got to help on that initially and then go get to the second level. And And we really struggled so much with one guard in particular. His name's Bang, who struggling getting to the second level. But you can see how quickly he's going to run this down and watch his head. He's going to get over here, get onto the correct side, and flip his hips and seal this linebacker off. And so here he comes. Boom. He's then making contact, secures him. He's going to get his head around and then seal it off. Oh, that's a thing of beauty. Seal him off for this running back to come running up through that hole. That run happens because of Jackson Slater getting to the linebacker. A tough task getting to the far linebacker from a backside lineman. That's a tough task to pull here. Now this is Cameron Jackson. So an example of that, you can see how much disruptive he is and going to hold the point of attack. The reason why this play doesn't hold up is because, again, Jackson Slater, the backside guard, is able to go get the linebacker. So good play there by Cameron Jackson, but the linebacker's got to fill isn't there because Jackson Slater was able to go get him, and they turn this into a big run. So this was one of the few runs of the day that they had that was a solid run. And again, it was all there. Jackson Slater really showing out. Okay, same thing. He's right here at right guard. And this was the play that for me might have been his best play of the game. Or no, this is the second. So there's going to be a play action pass, I think. Oh no, this was another run. Same thing. You're going to see him go get second level. I had to remember what he had a number of good reps, but again, gets out here is this twitchy. This is why I think they like him at center. They really like twitchiness from their centers. That's the big thing they've talked about with Jindal that they like is he's twitchy as a center. And so, bam, shoots out, gonna get up here and get to the second level. Really impressive there. Now, again, the rest of the defensive line, you can see, you know, they didn't have much to run. This is, again, Cameron Jackson out here. This is Tyrion Ingram Dawkins here from Georgia at end. And excuse me, that's not him. That's not Tyrion. That's Jared Ivey. That's playing the, and so, you know, they held the point of attack pretty well. But Jackson Slater did what he was supposed to do. Really impressive. This one was, I think, the most impressive. So they're gonna bring this on an inside zone, and so they've got a combo on the defensive tackle. Jackson has to help, and then he's got to go second level. And because it's an inside zone, it's more vertical movement than wide zone movement. And so the footwork is a little bit different. One initial, I love the pad level. Love the pad level. We saw this over and over again from Aaron Banks this year. Pad level was terrible, and he would get high. And same with Jake Brendel. High pad level all year. Love this pad level. Really low. That's what starts this vertical movement they're going to get. That's why, like, the center pad level is not great. Okay. So he's got great pad level, drives the defensive tackle and flips his hips. That's what helps the center win, is that's there from Jackson Slater. And so he helps win with the defensive tackle. Now he's going to go get the linebacker. So he's getting a 2-for-1 here. Then boom, picks up the linebacker and seals him, kicks him out. And this running back is able to cut it back up inside there. You know, if the backside had been able to block it better, this would be another big run because it's the backside that clears it up. But this is a really, really impressive rep. Small school kid who just is playing really well and making himself some money here at the Senior Bowl. So, you know, just some really, really good stuff to see. Jackson Slater, the nice thing about him is that because he's a small school kid, he's not going to be that first really unlikely second round guy. This is somebody third, fourth round is going to be there. So that's what I mean. That's what I mean in this, that as we're going through the Senior Bowl, you're seeing that there are going to be some good players that are going to be available in these mid and late rounds. Just because they're not pulling because they draft a guard in the early third does not mean that this is not a quality player who shows a lot of promise and shows that he can really play and fit their system. That's the thing that I really liked here about Jackson Slater. He's not a small kid either. I mean, standing across from him, he's a pretty good sized dude. And he says the right things. And we asked him, or Brad asked him about, what does it mean for you being a small school kid in here? And you had a number of really good reps. And here, what does that do for your confidence? And he just said, it's just the same stuff I did at Sac State. And, yeah, there's some things to build on, but I got to go watch the film and really evaluate myself. And, so he's going to get in there, evaluate the film, and really evaluate where he's at and everything. So really, really good head on shoulders. We were really, really impressed with him. Somebody that none of us had really much info on, being a small school kid to other outside today, and just really impressed all of us with his play today. We had a lot of eyes on him. And then, the other guys, Deion Walker and Cameron Jackson on the interior. So you can see why we had eyes on the interior a lot. We were watching a lot of Slater and the defensive tackles. So that's a recap mostly of what we saw today at the Senior Bowl. It was great day. I love it. We're going to see as the week goes, things are going to ramp up even more and love and see where they are. We saw KJ Wright out there coaching up the linebackers and the edge players, and it was fun seeing Mike Tomlin out there. That dude just loves football. I mean, it was the very start of practice with the national team. He was out there right in front of the defensive lineman, right in the mix of it all. He's not even coaching, there at the Senior Bowl. He's just there, and he's loving it, getting right in with the defensive lineman. Saw D'Amico Ryans there. Him and John Lynch were chatting it up for a while. So, a lot of good things to see there. So with that, somebody, I took a picture, and there was of John Lynch and put it on social media, and he was standing next to a bald guy, and somebody, I think, mistook that for Robert Saleh. It was not Robert Saleh, but Robert Saleh did. I haven't been able to do anything from it after Robert Saleh being announced as being hired by the 49ers to be returning as defensive coordinator. Absolutely love this. You guys have watched the channel know I have been pounding that table since Saleh got fired from the Jets that we needed to really think about bringing him back. I was preaching patience for about a month on Lawrence, and it didn't take long to really start souring on how the defense was playing, and knowing that if Saleh was there, you needed to go get him. And so that's what I think is most exciting about this as well, is that what this defense really needs is some youth injection into the defensive line and some talent on the defensive line. And it's here. It's here at the Senior Bowl. There's a lot of guys that do that. I think the 49ers have a number of options. I mean, a number of these kids, I think you plug them in and they're going to improve this defense. And so knowing that with the talent that's there in the secondary, knowing that you have a Fred Warner and you have a really exciting kid in D Winters that's there, Tatum Bethune, and see if we can get Greenlaw back. Knowing what this defense could do under Robert Saleh is really exciting. Just the prospect of that, and I'm excited for the idea that they're going to have a little bit more excitement as far as and variety in a lot of their third down packages. The thing that I think was most frustrating for me during the season was that our third down packages were just so predictable, and there was very little creativity. And I get that they want to play coverage a lot and they want to, use their talented front four, but they were setting their front four up in that you always knew it was going to be four, or it was just a straight 5-man rush. There wasn't a lot of games. There wasn't, making the offensive line have to guess where their defensive lineman was going to be coming from. So knowing that that's going to be coming back and giving that defensive front more options there, and the strong play from the secondary that we saw last year, that makes me really excited. And I feel like this is an opportunity for the 49ers that kind of like that 2018 season where it nets you a Nick Bosa and a Deebo Samuel, and those set you up for a Super Bowl run, and you get a Dre Greenlaw late in the rounds. This starts feeling like one of those drafts where there's a lot of talent up and down the draft board, and so you can really load up your team in a year where you have early round picks and you have several comp picks, that you can load up your team with some young talent to really establish you to kind of cycle back your window opening again. And so that's what's really exciting about it. Love that Saleh is going to be there. Love everything. Well, Adam, apparently, I think he was on a podcast with his other show. He was unable to make it in time with this one, but we will be coming at you again tomorrow night. Going to hopefully trying a little bit earlier tomorrow night. And I'll be a little more rested and everything. But man, you guys are awesome. We'll keep you updated about everything with the Senior Bowl. But until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and go Niners.